Okay. Is it live now? Okay, hopefully we're live now. If anybody can see this, hopefully you'll hit it. I guess I hit a button wrong. I did something wrong or something, but I should be running now. Sorry for the delay. I think that was probably my fault. Anyway, I beg your forgiveness. I'm sorry I'm 15 minutes late. I've been sitting here for 15 minutes thinking I was live, and then somebody texted me and told me that it wasn't, which is where it gets nice when you have like live views where somebody can tell you, hey, you should be on. So there it is. I'd like to thank Kristen for texting me, my lovely gal. So, anyway, big apologies for that. I am very sorry. Not that I have a whole lot of live viewers yet, but I'm trying to make sure that we can get this thing to be consistent. And I do not like inconsistent things like that. It's not cool. Anyway, that sucked. Spent 15 minutes running my mouth and to look up and not realize that what was going on. That's okay. Well, okay. Anyway, while I was filming and not realizing that I wasn't on, I was working on getting these washes done. So we have, oh goodness, that wasn't funny. It was funny, but it wasn't funny. You know, what are you gonna do, right? Okay. Well, hopefully nobody had tuned in trying to see me and missed out. I really apologize for that one. That is definitely on me. Oof, that sucks. I think everybody probably does this sort of thing though. And like everybody makes mistakes, guys, so like definitely I don't know, I feel like sometimes we're a little bit too harsh in this world, and I'm guilty of it myself, and it just happens. I definitely goodness sakes. I can't believe that. That's I'm pretty sure I just forgot. I'm pretty sure all I did was click the wrong button, and instead of one button you're supposed to click to get it started, and I didn't actually click it in the right sequences to get it going. But I'm gonna get better at this, and we won't go through these problems again. Anyway, so like we were talking, I was talking to nobody. We did these guys. We got a round of wash on them. That's going to be a burnt umber wash, or not burnt, but a raw umber wash. And see, now I'm all flustered. So we got that going, which is great. And I think we're going to start on Count Rugen, which this is pretty easy. He has looked like a gray kind of vest over the top of a yellow ochre shirt. So we are going to paint him as such. It was hard to find pants and boots on him, but I'll go looking for that again later. He's got a really nice sword, which I believe was made by Inigo Montoya's father. So, but he's this is a pretty interesting deal. It's the six-fingered man. Hopefully he's got his glove on. A little cat hair on there. So, you know, hopefully we can get this done. Again, sorry for the delay on the strangeness of the deals. Good Lord, I can't believe that. I mean, I can. Those sort of things happen to me a lot. See, here I'm painting the gloves again. I'm all flustered now. Oh, that is unfortunate. Unfortunate. Oh. goodness. Well, yeah. That's life. I hope everybody had a lovely holiday. Maybe I had too good of a holiday. Maybe that's what happened to me. I don't recall having that great of a holiday. It was a really decent one. I went over to my sister's. She has a lovely family, and it was pretty cool. And so we hung out with them, and that was fun. And then after that, we came home and pretty much went to bed. So like, it wasn't that wild. I mean, I had like a whiskey and eggnog at my in-laws' house, or my sister's house, but it wasn't that crazy. Alright, we just want to barely get in there. Don't worry too much about it right now. These base coats are like this. So, keep the brush plenty wet. Oof. This setup I got where I'm trying to paint, and the best way to see it is kind of interesting. It's like staring down the barrel of an old anti-aircraft gun or something. Hopefully we can continue to upgrade our equipment as we go, get better and better stuff. But for right now, this seems to work out pretty darn good. Looks a heck of a lot better than it did when we first started. So that's an improvement. Alright. He's definitely got this yellow ochre to him on his arms, for those of you who have seen this movie before. I believe we're looking at the version of him when they were riding into Gildor to find Wesley, who at the time was suspected of being the Dread Pirate Roberts. It turned out he was the Dread Pirate Roberts, but it was also Wesley, which Buttercup did not know. If you have not seen this movie, again, you probably should watch it. And, you know, it's fun. It's a fun movie. Alright. He's super ruffly on this shirt, which is cool. That's fun. It'll bring out great details down the road. Just trying to make sure we get in. Don't worry about making that base coat too thick. We're going to come back and hit it with another coat later. Yellow is odd too. Like, I think I said this before. I'll say again, yellow is strange. Always try to get like sometimes you'll want a white underneath it, depending on what the yellow is. If it's a really bright yellow, a lot of times it's better to have white underneath it, depending on the kind of paint you're using. So like whites and yellows are often very thin. Okay, so. And then it's a gray for his waistcoat, or whatever you want to call that. Vest, looks like a leather vest maybe. Could be a waistcoat. But it's definitely gray. So he's very much the same kind of color palette our other guys are. So we can just jump right in and get him painted while we're waiting on these other ones to get their washes done. Or dried, I should say. We'll come back. I guess it looks like it stops right here, which would mean that the rest of this is his shirt. Yeah, you can see it where this vest, it is definitely a vest. Right there. Because the top of that is a belt. And that's the thing about these models. Always when you're painting miniatures, go in with your idea, but keep an eye on what actually is happening on the model, because the model will show you the way. It will give you everything you need to know. Well, like I said, I'm glad that got caught. That would have been really embarrassing to run this stream all the way through an hour and not shown up at all. That would have been awfully terrible. I already feel bad enough. I could imagine how I'd feel if it was like an hour of me not being of me not broadcasting. Golly. There we go again. I'm just not super technologically inclined. It's pretty wild. Definitely keep checking that camera. I really feel like this is helping us keep that miniature in camera focus, or at least in camera, maybe not focus, but it keeps us in the camera lens to have this set up the way it is now. It's a little bit more difficult on like positioning and stuff, but I really want to paint like this for that hour that I'm with you guys, and then my other projects I just paint regularly, so it's not too much of a stress on me. And I don't really mind. I kind of like the idea of painting and letting people come and hang out. So I don't know that I necessarily want to be a step-by-step how-to kind of thing. There's nothing wrong with that. I think that's pretty cool stuff. Heck, I've used that on several different types of things in YouTube. Not necessarily modeling stuff, but you know, how to fix things, and some people really need that. They want that how-to deal. But what I'm hoping to do is just kind of build, you know, a little channel where we just chit chat about the painting of things, and we work and we do our stuff, and hopefully I'll get some you guys following and get some posts from some other people, post them on our feed here and there. Be cool. Well, it doesn't have to always be my artwork. Maybe we can even get some collabs where we can get some people that are collaborating. That would be neat. Need to have a collaboration. Do people painting from all over the place. All right. Okay. So now that we know that his shirt is going to come down, let's pull that down. And this is again that yellow ochre. We're coming back with that. Gray. The gray I made out of Mars black and the titanium white. Again, this is that yellow ochre again. We did for the top of his jacket, coat, shirt, whatever this is supposed to be. Looks like a shirt. Underneath his deal. And I'm trying to make sure I'm getting all those cracks, but I'm also trying to make sure I've got my brush strokes evened out. I may have to get in there and kind of move it around at first, but I always come back and bring my brush strokes back in the same direction. Seems kind of pointless at first, but once you kind of get down, when we get the other layers in, it looks better if the most part we're getting everything in the same direction. For the most part. There's always going to be times where you can't do things the way it's supposed to be done, and you just got to do them. Oop, the way they have to be. I'll have to come back and fix that. I'm not going to be able to fix that with my fingertip. Sometimes you can rub it right off, but a little too high on his belt. And I got a new palette. I showed it off when I thought everybody was watching me, and they weren't. It's the Armor Painter, or Army Painter wet palette. It's a pretty neat system. Very similar to what we were using, the handmade or homemade one. It's a little smoother because you're not using paper towels. You're using like a little foam thing. So it's a little smoother. We'll talk about it when we change out the palette again. We'll show you guys how it works. I'm already using it down here, but again, I did that during the other one. It is so weird. I can't believe I did that again. I've done it before, but that one, it was a completely different way I did it. And I thought I'd figured out what I was doing, and I had not. So, life's about growth. Life's about growth. At least it should be. Okay, so we got that. Let's take a look at Mr. Count again here. Yeah, this is definitely him in the yellow. I'm trying to find one with his pants on, where you can see what color his pants and stuff are, but maybe I'll have to watch the whole movie. It is really hard to see. Because all the pictures are of him on a horse where you can't see his legs. I'm going to go with like a gray, and then we'll go with like a brownish boot. Or maybe we just move over and put some more wash on these guys, and we'll come back and look again in a second and let that dry. And we'll think about it. And maybe we can find it. If anybody out there knows what I'm talking about, throw it down there in the comments. Not that there's anybody that's going to comment yet. We'll get there when we get it. We're going to get there. We're going to get there. That is definitely seems to be the name of the game on YouTube. Is just got to stay patient. Keep doing what you're doing. Try to stay consistent. Goodness. And, have a good time. That's a closing from one of my favorite guys that's on YouTube. His name's Dennis. He does Ukrainian reports on the conflict going on over there. He's a pretty cool guy. If you're interested in watching stuff about the war, I watched a little bit about everything just because I like to keep up on what's going on in the world. I don't particularly like war, but I'm not in a position to change any of that. Man is going to keep committing war until we figure out that's a bad idea. I just don't know how long that'll take. So I just paint little miniatures so people can pretend they're playing war, because that seems like a better thing to do than doing real war. Let's just pretend to have a war. Although, let's not get to that. What was that? There was an old episode of, I believe it was Star Trek, where these two societies had decided that they were going to eliminate wars in the sense of they build equipment and they go fight on a field. And they just had a simulation war. And then people were expected to go like, if your casualty number was called, then you were expected to just go to this S booth and self, Anyway, so, yeah, and that's crazy. So hopefully we don't get to that. A weird tangent. All right, so that's dry. Maybe we go for like a light gray, and then we'll go for a dark brown boot. We'll go for like a real light gray on the tights. I feel like I've seen that, and that's what it was when I've seen it, because I've watched this movie a dozen times, so I definitely have seen it. I also feel like this will really help make him look kind of coordinated. Not that that necessarily matters. We just want to, because we want to try and get it to look like the movie. But if all we ever see is his torso and him on a horse from a distance, then we can't really tell what color his pants are. Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's gonna look great. And we'll come back and we'll put a little bit more of that yellow on there because we want to get that color to smooth out. You can see how that first coat's a little bit runny, which, like I was saying, yellow just does that. Yellow ochre is pretty good. Like, it'll a second pass and it'll be fine. But some of your really bright yellows, they almost need a white underneath them to work. Trying to put them on top of black isn't going to happen. Yellow ochre is a pretty strong pigment, so it can handle it. But not as well as like this gray is. You can see how this gray is going on there and almost just taking it all in one coat. And again, get your paint on there and tighten up your strokes. Make it look nice and clean, best you can. The great part about miniature painting, in my humble opinion, is that most people can't do this anyway. So, like, if you're doing it to where it looks decent, you've done a great job. Because a lot of people, they can't even, like, fathom the idea of painting these sort of things. And for those of you who don't paint them and don't fathom the idea of painting them and are still watching, I think that's awesome too, that you think it's so interesting. Because, like, you know, for me, it's just fun to do. But some people find the whole thing rather fascinating. And while they may never want to paint themselves, they do like to check in and watch progress, which is really neat. Or see people do it. Kind of like the whole phenomenon with, oh, my kids love to watch people play video games. And I'm like, I've never really understood that very well until recently. Because I was like, oh, why would you want to watch somebody play a video game? And then finally, recently, one of them said, oh, well, I don't actually want to play the game, but I'd like to see, you know, what the game is like, and I want to see, you know, what happens in the story. And I was like, oh, that makes a lot more sense. Because, like, you know, a lot of these games have really, really killer stories now. So they just want to see the conclusion of the story, but they don't actually want to have to go through buying and playing the whole dang game because it's not their kind of game. It's like, oh, that's actually pretty cool. And that makes a lot of sense. It's kind of like how I felt about putting this channel together. Oh, it's like, well, okay. Well, maybe not everybody wants to play D&D or Warhammer or Chainmail or, golly, there's thousands of games. But maybe they would do want to watch somebody paint some stuff and chit-chat about it. And they could participate right along with the folks that do want to see it and participate. And they are going to go and play the game. Yeah, I was just doing a lot of thinking about what a channel would need to be able to do to be successful here, and how we would cross utilize customers, and yeah. What kind of the customer base would it be? What are they going to be looking for? How can I appeal to the most people? Yeah, no. All the kind of things you should be thinking about when you're going to try to put together a show that has some sort of real intent of sticking around. And I suppose you could just wing it for a while, but I'm not really that kind of person. Some people probably would disagree from their perspective. But I typically have a plan, and I like to make that plan work. There we go. Yeah, those guys in there. And there's that little mold line on him, which is fine. I normally take off mold lines and stuff like that, but these are really weird plastic models, and it was kind of... I tried to get a couple of the mold lines off, and in some places where I felt like it was going to be inconspicuous. And they were such a bugger to get off that I felt like had I started trying to do it on all the places where it was going to matter on a model, the actual details, it would obscure our details too much. So we're just going to kind of paint around them. Hopefully we can kind of use them. I used the ones on the inside of Andre's pants to kind of make it look like where the seam was. So hopefully they'll all work out that way where we can kind of use them. And as you can see, this next yellow layer is going down a lot better. We really had to let that dry in between the layers. Now, of course, it won't be like fully dry for, probably about 45 minutes or so, but it was dry enough to grab that next layer, which is what we wanted to do. And we'll let them go together. Man, I'm still giggling at myself for missing that button and not doing that sequence right. That is funny and not funny at the same time. So, luckily I got people looking out. That's helpful. Everybody should have people look out for them. I've got a lot of really special, great people that do that for me. It's just really nice. I don't always deserve it, but I don't think anybody always deserves it. We can all be kind of, I don't know, just the six-fingered man. He's not a nice guy at all. He's pretty rough around the edges, honestly. Count Rugen. Get just a little bit of paint in there. Really let this guy dry after this is done. Come back and touch up a couple other things. Looks like I missed part of his vest over here. I'll figure out his gloves too. So this is one of those things where I got my first three guys started and going. And now I'm able to kind of pick up these other characters as I'm finishing the first three, because as you can tell, sometimes you're just sitting there waiting on stuff to dry. So the best thing to do is just have a few pieces running at a time so that you can come through and mess with their stuff while you're waiting. See, I got that little dot. I was able to clear that out. Okay, so that works good. Let's check on this. All right. Yeah. See, we're starting to dry into those little cracks the way we want to, which is awesome. I think we're going to need another layer. We really want, if you look at the source material for these guys, their shirts are real filthy. And we may even come back again after we do a dry brush and drop a few stains in here. But we want to make sure that our crevices are going to be nice and deep with color. And like I said, this is a raw umber wash that I'm using. I made it myself out of my raw umber paint and water. You can buy pre-made washes They make them in a variety of different colors. Typically, the way it's set up for washes, though, for modeling, is like, what do you need it to do? So it's either a flush is a little bit different. It's not just water at the same time. Dirty. I want a dirty wash. It took about 5 rounds of this. Alright, there, it's back again. Maybe it wasn't just me. Maybe it was something going on with my internet. So hopefully, it's been an interesting day. So we're going to keep painting. Great color. And again, I make a lot of these colors variations myself. Especially grays. Like, if you're going to make gray, you kind of need to learn how to make grays and scale them out yourself. If you want to paint like me. If not, you can just buy a bunch of different gray colors and paints, and then just pick which ones you want when you need them. But I'm just not, that's just not how I was taught to paint. Oop, that's a little too light. Yep, there we go, that's better. Okay. And right in here, it's a little hard to get down in. There we go. Ho ho ho. I think we're definitely going to have to get a little bit better internet service out here to get this to run right, because I feel like that's part of what has happened. At least with that last one, it dropped me straight off. Very odd. I can't tell what's going on, honestly. So alright, we'll go ahead and do his face. He's got a goatee. So we're going to try not to get too much paint on it. Like I said, I'm going to come back later and we'll do the same thing we did with all of our other guys with him. We'll come back later and we'll do a lot more washes and things like that. So this, and we want a little thin layer. We want to try to avoid getting all up on his goatee. But we may not be able to actually be able to do that. And if we can't, that's okay. We'll just clean it up when we get back. We'll put the brown on top. So we're going to worry more about getting this skin color into the right places. And then we'll come back and get his goatee knocked out later. Get it looking good. So don't be afraid if you get a little bit on there. Looking good. All right. Constantly checking this one because I'm a little bit more nervous about it. And that he definitely has a black glove. His belt is going to be interesting because that belt is like silver and brown. Yep, it is silver and brown. You can see it right here. And again, we don't even get to really see the dang pants. It's this shirt again right there. But that is definitely silver. And maybe black. Maybe they're black. It's black and silver. Would make more sense for the character, right? Black gloves, black this, black that. He's definitely not a good guy. Okay. Alright, we want to put, even though these are already black, it's the black primer. So I want to put actual black paint down. Number one, I'll be able to kind of clean up anywhere where I maybe got yellow where I don't want to. And two, I'm going to dull off the shine. The primer has just a little bit of shine to it. I'm going to get rid of that. Looks like I missed just a little bit of his shirt right there. Yes. The rest is definitely a glove. Well, since I was late today, apologies again. We'll go ahead and run the 15 minutes over into 2:15. I don't have to go pick up any children today because there's no school. So I'm so I have a little bit more freedom with not running right out the door, and I can finish up this session and give you guys that full hour that you truly deserve. You deserve that, especially after my flub. Totally deserve the full hour. And I'm gonna own it. It might be the internet, but I'm gonna own that flub. I'm gonna bet it was probably a combination. And look, see, this is what I'm talking about. See, these models are so weird. I feel like if I heat gunned it, maybe it would stay in place better. I'm hoping once we get enough paint on them, they'll start like staying still, but I don't know. We shall see. We shall see. Okay. Same thing with this boots. I went ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and put this wash down, or this black down, and we'll come back later and put just a little light dry brush of a super dark gray on them. And it'll make it look like black boots. You don't want to leave them just straight black though, because they'll look weird. I wonder what color the scabbard of his sword is. Now I'm gonna have to go watch this movie again so I can see this guy, because you can't find pictures of him on the internet that look right or give you all the details you need to look at. But I bet you somewhere in the movie I could catch it. I'll bet. Alright. Alright, well, let's let him dry a little bit. We'll check on our washes. As you guys missed all this last time because I did it off camera on the witch. So you can see how it's starting to pull up on us real good now. We're starting to get real filthy looking. Which is kind of what we want. Maybe it's a little bit more right here. And we may be pretty close to letting this guy finish out. Maybe do another round on his face just so we can get this deeper and darker for us. Because we really want to be able to pull out his face. Looks like I got 2 viewers. Yay! Welcome to whomever the other viewer is. I know one of them is Miss Kristen. So, yeah, there it is. Ha ha ha. Okay, that's looking nice. I really like the look of this guy. And once all that dries up, I think he's going to be ready for us to put the finished touches on him. Maybe pull this down just a little bit more. Pull this out. And again, that what we're trying to do is getting it to sit on the edges, like, or in the crevices, not necessarily just the edges. But like we want this little edge down here to get dirty. We want this little edge down here to get dirty. And then all these little creases where his shirt's folded up, we want those to darken down. And then we'll come back with the highlights to bring out the full color of the top of the deal, and just make it all come together right. And Nino Montoya is looking pretty fabulous. I hit his face up again. I don't really know that we need to worry too much about the rest of him. Maybe a little bit in his hands. And since Vicini's already pretty dang dark, there's not really a whole lot of work we got to do here. Looks like his face is looking pretty good. I'm going to leave him alone. We're going to let those guys dry out. Okay. And that'll be last round on them, and then we'll come back and finish them off. Now, Count Rugen's hair is... Oh, it's brown with these gray streaks on the side. His goatee is kind of brownish. All right. So... I'm going to go with the burnt umber on his hair to really kind of bring out this brown. Again, we might, when we come back with these washes, it's going to be a darker. And with those with the black-haired gentleman, we went with the brown, with a burnt umber on it, just to kind of give it a little bit of color going in. When we highlight that up, you'll see why that was important. It'll be the same thing here. You want these colors to play right in the end, and so you have to set them up properly in the beginning. Hair is tricky in general. I imagine this guy probably has these are probably all actually extensions, because he's just kind of a bad guy. That's funny. We're going to go ahead and bring his flesh right up to the edge here. It looks like I don't have his forehead quite big enough. There we go. When they're little like this, it gets really hard to see some of these details. So you have to be prepared to come back and fix maybe a place where you went wrong, and to notice where it's wrong. I guess that's why we're here, to help you see those little things. Because if you watch me do it, maybe it helps you do it better. At least that's my idea. Now again, his goatee is actually mostly like a graying from old age, but we want to put this brown on here too, because it will help us with making it look more natural when it all finishes out. It'll look more like a natural deal. Mm-hmm. Actually, you know, for it being a mass-produced, cheaper plastic piece, they got the details right. I mean, he definitely looks the part. You can tell who that this is supposed to be the Count. This isn't normally something that a miniature people would be painting, so I definitely can understand why it's not. Yeah, like the most supreme quality of miniature. Totally understandable. This is like a collar here, so we're gonna go ahead and come back with that gray. Get that collar done. There we go. I need a little bit more paint to get in there. Get in there. Doop 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 doop. Unfortunately, there's no Miracle Max. Miracle Max was one of my favorite characters in the whole movie. I love Miracle Max. That scene where they take Wesley in to get brought back to life is probably one of the funniest things in film. Okay. I'm going to give him a red box, just like Indian Montoya's. Just that insult to injury thing. He's got the same color scabbard because he stole it from his dad or something like that. This one I really don't mind if it's a little bit thicker, as long as the strokes are right. You don't want it pulling up with a weird ripple in it. But we can go ahead and let that sit with pretty good color on it and let it dry out for us. Probably need to work a little bit more on getting some of this facial stuff cleared up. Painting miniatures with goatees is always a fun challenge. That little extra bit of hair makes it goatees and mustaches makes them interesting. Okay, get down in there. Yes. Okay, and we can take care of some of that edge with some washes, which will help sink into there. Looks like right in his, right there. There we go. Yeah. That's a lot more helpful. I don't know that you can actually see that, but there was like this little tiny dot in the corner of his eye that just wasn't right. It's glaringly obvious to me off camera, but I don't know that you can actually see it on the camera, which is fun. Okay. We're going to put him aside. Let's see, are we dry enough here to go? Not quite yet. Well, I'm thinking we need a crimson on that boot. Like a real heavy red crimson. So we'll probably have to add this color to our palette. We'll add it in the doobly-doo for next time. And of course that lid is jammed on there really good. So I need these guys. Ah. This way I don't have to like hurt my little fingers. It's just funny for me because I used to cut myself all the time. I was a chef for a long time. I wouldn't say all the time. I would cut myself several times. So, like, I'm really not actually that worried about my fingers. But as I get older, it seems like it's easier for me to pull the tops off that way. Because, like, I just can't grip it right. It's like my arthritis or something. I don't know. But anyway, that's crimson. Straight up crimson. Another Windsor Newton color. But I feel like with the dark tones under it, if we come back and we put these straight crimson right over the top of it, just thin, because his boots were red. That's too red though. Alright, so let's just take that down. A lot of water. And of course we want to be super careful of the spots where we put. There we go. Get that extra red off there. So it looks like we need a super light. Almost like a wash, like a red wash. We don't need enough of it for me to make it down over there, so I'm just going to make a little bit on this wet palette. And I'm going to come back and we'll dilute it with maybe a little bit of that brown just to show it up. Now it looks like a blood angel. Alright. Because when you look at this picture, and we can show it again if we want, but I don't need to see it. When you look at the picture, Andre's boots are like red. Like a red leather, which is a little strange. But also fun, because those big old red boots are kind of fun. Now, this won't stay this red the whole time, especially if we start like pulling out of these cracks, which we don't really want it sitting too much in. Kind of want it to come down onto the tops. Smooth it out. We don't want it just sitting in the crack. Get back up in the frame, pat. But we don't want it to be super thick, so we're trying to kind of, as it dries, I'm just kind of trying to move it around to give us that red look. And again, this is like I was talking just a second ago about the hair and making sure the base color is right. We had that brown underneath this and then put the red on top of it. And so now that's really going to help us. The brown is going to show through in the bottoms and the red is going to show through in the tops. And we end up with that red boot we were looking for. If the camera can catch that for us. Come on, Mr. Camera. Be nice. I think you can see the color. You may not be able to see the details, but you can see the color. That's good enough. So we got that part done, which is nice. Oh, and there's that extra 15 minutes I promised you. Again, sincerest apologies for the delay on that video. That was definitely like at least 90% my fault. But we are here. We're having fun. We got these washers on these guys, and we got started on Count Rogren. Hopefully from there we can springport maybe into Wesley and Humperdinck and Buttercup, depending on which colors we need for them. And we'll add the colors as we need to. I'll add that crimson palette, or crimson to our palette on the next video. so you'll know where to purchase that, or which brand to purchase, and where I was using that. And again, hopefully we don't have those kind of another misstep like we did today. Although it's probably going to happen a few times. I do apologize. See, that's my alarm to normally go pick up my kids, but I don't actually have to do that today. Anyway, that's all I got. We're going to come back. Hopefully we'll progress a lot faster tomorrow. Yeah, again, it's the day after Christmas, so I'm a little bit slow. I guess that's it. I hope you guys have a great day, and we'll talk to you later.